My stepchildren said, "We survived before you. We'll survive after." So I gave them the chance to prove it. I packed up, canceled the accounts, sold the extras, and they found out who actually held everything together. My name's Brian. I'm 44, and I live just outside Phoenix, Arizona. The sun here never goes away. It presses down on the house like a judgment, baking every silence, every unspoken word. The air inside isn't much cooler. It holds things like resentment, like history. 4 years ago, I married Rachel. She was beautiful in that worn-down kind of way, like someone who'd been surviving so long she forgot there was any other way to live. When I met her, she had a part-time job at a dental office and worked night shifts cleaning offices just to keep the lights on. The house was a disaster. Duct tape on the vents, plumbing that moaned, a leak in the roof that had stained the ceiling like a wound no one cleaned. Her car was running on borrowed time and bald tires. And then there were her 2 kids, Tyler and Madison, 17 and 15 now, 13 and 11 when I met them. They weren't monsters, not at first, just wary, suspicious in that way kids get when every adult in their life has either walked out or let them down. Their real dad, Chad, was a myth. He'd been gone longer than he'd been present, but not gone enough to be forgotten. Every once in a while he'd float back in. Christmas text messages, Facebook comments with emojis and "Miss you, buddy" beneath a photo he hadn't taken. When he dropped off late gifts or promises he wouldn't keep, Rachel would force a smile, and Tyler would glow like a dying bulb that just needed one more flicker. But I didn't come in trying to replace him. That's the lie they tell in the movies, that stepfathers want to erase someone. I didn't. I just saw a woman who was drowning and offered a boat. I fixed the roof, caught up on the rent, paid off the credit cards, braces for Madison, because she was too embarrassed to smile, a new iPhone for Tyler, because he said he needed it for school but really used it to text girls and ignore me. I paid for sports fees, Uber rides, school trips, lost library books, streaming subscriptions, and 1,000 other things no one ever said thank you for. When Tyler wanted to learn to drive, I bought a second car. Not a new one, a rusted Toyota Corolla with good bones and cold AC. I taught him to drive in that car, sweating through my shirt while he stalled at every red light. He never said thanks, just tossed me the keys like I was his valet. I never once asked to be called Dad. I never even hinted at it. All I asked for was a little respect. The kind you give the man who keeps the water running, who installs the Wi-Fi, who pays for the roof over your head even when you treat him like he doesn't exist. And for a while I told myself they'd come around. That teenagers were cruel by nature, but they'd grow out of it. That maybe one day, they'd look back and see the man who stood behind them when the one who made them couldn't be bothered to show up. But hope is expensive, and it burns slow. Last week, Thursday night, we sat down for dinner. The 4 of us. Rachel had made spaghetti. I'd gotten home late from work. The kind of day where your hands still shake from the caffeine and exhaustion. I just wanted to sit. Just wanted peace. Instead, it was chaos. Tyler and Madison were already yelling before I set my plate down. Arguing over something, who used the car last, who didn't rinse their dishes, who changed the Netflix password. Their voices bounced off the walls, loud and shrill, like they were the only people in the house. I tried to keep my tone even. I said, "Can we please just not shout during dinner? That's all. Not a command. Not a threat. Just a request. A man asking for one peaceful moment in the home he paid for." Tyler slammed his fork down. He didn't look at me, he threw me. Like I wasn't a man. Like I wasn't even there. He said, "We survived before you. We'll survive after." The words didn't shake. They were rehearsed, polished, weighted like a blade. And then Madison, never one to be left out, added, "You're not even blood. Stop acting like you run the place." Rachel froze. Her fork hovered midair. She didn't look at me, didn't look at them either. She just kept chewing, like she hadn't heard it, like ignoring it would make it disappear. That silence hurt more than their words. I didn't speak. I didn't shout. I didn't even flinch. I just stared down at my plate and chewed slowly. Every bite turned to ash in my mouth. The steam rising from the spaghetti smelled like rot. That night, I laid awake in bed beside Rachel while she scrolled through her phone, giggling at TikToks, pretending everything was fine. I stared at the ceiling fan, counting every slow rotation. 1, 2, 3, trying to decide if this was the moment, the one where something in me finally broke. Or maybe finally healed. Because here's what they didn't see. I was the scaffolding holding this whole crooked house together. I was the background hum of the fridge they never cleaned, the car engine that started because I kept paying the insurance, the lights that turned on because I stayed late at work to cover the electric bill. I was the man who filled the fridge. I was the man who answered when they called. And I was the man they spat on the moment they thought they didn't need me. They didn't call me dad. Fine. I never asked for that. But what they gave me wasn't just distance. It was contempt. The kind that rots things. The kind that builds in corners and waits for a moment like this to strike. Tyler's words echoed in my skull like a looped voicemail. We survived before you. We'll survive after. He said it like a prophecy. I decided to make it true. I didn't shout. Didn't throw anything. Didn't lecture them about sacrifice or respect or what it meant to hold a family together. I just went to the guest room, sat at the old desk no one ever used, and opened my laptop. While Rachel watched her crime dramas in the living room and the kids screamed at each other in the game room I built with my own 2 hands, I began the quiet work of erasure. Spotify Family Plan canceled. Xbox Game Pass gone. Netflix, Disney Plus, Hulu, Paramount Plus, all under my login, all cut. I went through the bills like a surgeon. Cell phones, they weren't on my plan anymore. I transferred the accounts to Rachel's name. Let her carry the weight. She was their mother. Their real father was a ghost, but he still had a pulse somewhere. Let him rise from the dead and pick up a bill or two. The second car, the Corolla I'd bought for Tyler to practice driving, listed it for sale that night. Cleaned it up, posted pictures, and sold it the next day. Cash in hand. Tyler didn't even ask where it went. He just assumed it was some issue with the DMV. That's how invisible I'd become. A man who could take away a car and still not be noticed. The home gym I built in the garage, squat rack, bench, dumbbells, treadmill gone. Sold to a guy from Mesa who showed up with a trailer and 2 ratchet straps. The game room upstairs, the 75-inch TV, the beanbags, the PS5 sold, donated, or boxed. The room sat empty within 72 hours, echoing with the sound of their entitlement crashing into nothing. I didn't raise my voice, didn't warn them, didn't leave a note. I just quietly removed myself from the role they insisted I never belonged in. By the end of the week, the house still looked the same. The structure hadn't changed, but the scaffolding was gone. And no one noticed until they leaned on it and felt the fall. It started with Madison. Thursday morning. I was drinking coffee at the kitchen table, silent, the way I always was now. Rachel was already gone, early shift. Madison came down, phone in hand, backpack swinging like she was late but didn't care. She looked at me for a second, then right past me, like I was a lamp or a chair. She said, "The Wi-Fi's down. Fix it?" I sipped my coffee. "It's not down," I said. "It's gone." She blinked. "What?" "I canceled it. Ask your mom if you want it back. Or maybe your real dad. I'm not paying for anything else." She stared at me like I'd spoken a foreign language. Then she laughed. Whatever. But that laugh died when her hotspot wouldn't work either. That night, I overheard her in the hallway, hissing into her phone. "No, I don't know the login. He just canceled it." "I know, right? Like what the hell?" She slammed her bedroom door after that. The next day, Tyler missed football practice. Uber didn't show. His prepaid ride card had been mine. I got a text from Rachel. "Can you fix the Uber account? Tyler's stranded." I left it unread. Instead, I opened the garage, folded up the last of my tools, and put them in the truck. That space used to be mine. Now it was just a graveyard of old tennis balls and dusty resentment. Rachel confronted me that night, or tried to. We sat in bed, backs to each other. She said, "Can't you at least turn the Wi-Fi back on? They're still kids." I stared at the dark window, watched the light from the neighbor's house flicker in the glass. My voice came out flat. They said they survived before me. Let them prove it. She went quiet after that. I think she wanted to argue, but she knew better than to push. Because for the first time in 4 years, I wasn't playing the role anymore. I wasn't trying. I was done. And they could feel it. The difference. The absence. Tyler's calls got more frantic. One night, I heard him yelling at someone on speakerphone, probably Chad, and calling him a deadbeat. I felt nothing. Not vindicated. Not satisfied. Just free. Madison missed a school trip. Payment bounced. Some fundraiser event. I found the flyer in the trash. I used to pay those fees before she even asked. Used to drive her to the store to pick out outfits, shoes, accessories. Now she was crying in her room because her friends were going without her. Rachel tried to comfort her. I listened from the guest room, laying on the stiff mattress, staring at the ceiling fan. She came to me again that night. "They're struggling," she said quietly, standing in the hallway like she was scared to cross the threshold. I didn't look up. When they want adult freedoms, they get adult consequences. Her voice cracked. "Brian." I finally turned my head. "You sat there. You heard them. You didn't say a word. Not even when they cut me down. So don't come here now, asking me to rebuild what they set fire to." She didn't have an answer. Just stood there in the half-dark like a stranger. Eventually, she walked away. I started sleeping in the guest room permanently after that. Didn't say it, didn't announce it. Just stopped pretending we were on the same team. The queen-size bed in the master was hers again. The rest of the house belonged to them, and I left them to manage it. I became a ghost in my own home. The man who paid the mortgage but didn't get a seat at the table. The one who'd built the frame but now lived outside it. And still, they didn't get it. Still, they walked past me like I wasn't the one who'd held the threads together. Until the threads unraveled. The fridge went empty 1 week. No milk. No eggs. No orange juice, Madison's favorite. Rachel asked if I'd gone shopping. I looked at her like she'd grown a second head. I said, "You think ghosts go grocery shopping?" She didn't reply. 2 days later, the air conditioning died. Phoenix in September, 102 degrees. The vents blew nothing but hot air and dry promises. Tyler stomped around the house shirtless, cursing. Madison opened every window. Rachel called the HVAC guy and was quoted $1,500 just for the fix. She looked at me across the kitchen island, hope flickering behind her tired eyes. I said nothing, just walked back to the guest room and shut the door. The next morning, I found her on the patio with her head in her hands. She'd missed a car payment. I knew because I'd stopped making it. She'd been so used to my shadow handling everything that when it vanished, the sun exposed every crack. And I felt nothing, because I'd already found the condo. 2 bedrooms, quiet neighborhood, north side of town. No memories, no expectations. The lease was signed. I hadn't told them. I didn't need to, because I was already gone. Not physically, not yet, but in every way that mattered, I had already left the house behind. The house didn't go quiet when I stepped back. It went cold. Not silent, not peaceful. Cold, the kind that seeps into the walls when something vital stops working. Not the AC that was already gone, but the heartbeat of the place. Me. I still came home every night, still parked in the same spot, still unlocked the front door and walked past the kitchen, past the living room, into the guest room that smelled like dust and distance. I didn't slam doors. I didn't say a word. I let the emptiness explain itself. They noticed eventually. The first week was noise, complaints, accusations. Tyler stomped around the house, slamming cabinets, huffing at every inconvenience. Madison had a meltdown when the printer jammed and no one came to fix it. Rachel asked if I could take a look. I said no. She blinked like she'd forgotten who she married, like she didn't understand that the man she married wasn't a machine. He was a person, one who could stop, one who had stopped. "Brian," she said, cautious. "It's just the printer." I looked at her, really looked. Eyes tired, lips cracked. The weight of everything I used to carry now dragging her to the floor. "And I'm just the guy who was told to stop acting like I run the place." I said. She didn't answer, because there was no comeback for that. Madison cried again 2 nights later. She sat at the dining table surrounded by notebooks, chargers, her dead laptop, and a mountain of unpaid expectations. She needed Wi-Fi to upload a project, needed ink for the printer, needed anyone to care enough to help. Rachel asked if I could just turn the Wi-Fi back on for a bit. I sipped my beer, didn't even look up. I'm giving them the space they asked for, I said. Let them prove how well they survive without me. Rachel didn't cry, but her voice cracked. They're still kids. No, I said. They're old enough to choose who they listen to. Old enough to decide I'm irrelevant. Old enough to own the consequences. Tyler missed 2 football practices the next week. He tried Uber. His account was locked. Tried borrowing Rachel's car. She needed it for work. Blamed her. Yelled. Slammed doors. I heard him once, pacing outside my door, ranting into the phone. He's just being petty, he hissed. Like some bitter ex. This is stupid. He thinks we care. We don't. We don't need him. But his voice trembled. The next morning, Rachel sat across from me with a credit card bill in her hands. One I used to pay. One she never had to look at. I didn't realize, she started. You were doing all this. I didn't smile. Didn't gloat. I just nodded. I know. It wasn't about the money anymore. It was about gravity. I had been the unseen weight that kept their world spinning. And when I stepped back, everything drifted. Madison got left off a school trip. They emailed Rachel. Payment had bounced. Rachel came to me with the laptop, eyes pleading. She's devastated, she said. Can't you just cover this one? Just this once? No, I said. You don't get to insult the foundation and then cry when the roof collapses. She left the room in silence. After that, I stopped eating dinner at the table. Let them have their family time, their team. I came home late, ate in the garage or the guest room. Let them sit across from 3 empty chairs and wonder why. One night I came home and found Tyler on the porch. The same kid who once told me, "We'll survive after you." He was sitting on the top step, arms crossed, chin tucked to his chest like he was trying to disappear. I walked past him. Keys jingling. Nothing said. He muttered, "Hey." I paused. He didn't look at me, just stared at the floor. "Practice sucks without the car," he said. "And the Uber thing's messed. I missed 2 games." I waited. He swallowed. "I mean, you don't have to drive me or anything. Just saying. It's dumb." It wasn't an apology. It was a half gesture from a boy used to being rescued. I left him on the steps. 2 days later, I passed Madison in the hallway. She didn't roll her eyes, didn't scoff, just looked down at her phone, then up at me, then away. "Do you know the Wi-Fi password?" she asked. "Nope," I said. "Not my account anymore." She nodded, quiet, walked off. That night, I caught Rachel crying in the bathroom. I didn't ask. I didn't step in. Just listened to the sound of her regret echoing against tile and porcelain. Because this wasn't just about the kids anymore. It was about her too. The one who sat silent while they stabbed. The one who let them spit in my face, then asked me to keep smiling. The one who watched me disappear and never once asked if I was okay. I started locking the guest room door. Started doing laundry at night in silence. Started leaving early, coming back late. I was a tenant now, not a father, not a husband, a ghost paying rent for the right to be ignored. Rachel tried once. Sat next to me on the guest bed, hands folded, eyes red. "They're scared," she said. "They don't know how to fix this." I nodded. "They don't have to fix it," I said. "They just have to live with it." They didn't mean what they said. They meant every word. That's what makes it real. She stayed a few minutes longer, then left. Didn't try again. The following week, the thermostat read 91 degrees indoors. Phoenix heat turns drywall into sweat-stained paper. They all sat around the living room with box fans blowing warm air in circles, glaring at each other. I walked in, tossed my keys on the counter. Rachel looked up. The HVAC guy said it'll be over $2,000, she said. I nodded. She blinked. You're not going to help? I opened the fridge. Nothing inside but expired yogurt and half a gallon of milk. Nope. Tyler cursed under his breath. Madison stormed upstairs. Rachel followed me to the guest room. You're punishing all of us, she said. Even me. I stopped at the door. You let them spit on me, I said. Then you kept feeding them while I starved. She didn't reply, because the truth doesn't need backup. And in the silence that followed, I realized something deeper than anger. They needed me, not emotionally, not spiritually, functionally. I had been their infrastructure, the pipes, the wires, the payments. I had been the system they thought ran by itself. And now they were face to face with the fact that the system was human and breakable. That week I started moving things. Not boxes, not clothes, nothing obvious. Just the things no one notices until they're gone. Tools, documents, important keys, photos, the things I cared about, the things I wasn't leaving behind. Rachel saw it. She didn't say anything, but her eyes started following me in a new way, the way you watch a tide recede before the storm hits, because she knew what came next, and so did I. A month after I withdrew, the house finally showed the truth everyone had been pretending not to see. The HVAC didn't just act up. It died. Fully. Quietly. Like it had been holding on out of loyalty to me and finally decided it didn't need to anymore. The air inside thickened until even breathing felt like a chore. Rachel tried calling the repair guy again. His estimate hadn't changed. 2,000. She whispered the number like it was a curse. Groceries started disappearing faster than they could afford to replace them. Rachel used to hand me lists without asking if I had the money. Now she stood in the doorway of the kitchen staring at an empty refrigerator, waiting for a miracle that wasn't coming. Tyler ate cereal 3 nights in a row dry because the milk had spoiled during the HVAC failure. Madison lived on granola bars she found in the back of a cabinet. Her face broke out from the sugar. She cried about it in the bathroom without locking the door, hoping maybe I'd hear, maybe I'd care. I didn't. I had parted ways with caring the moment they told me my place. It was strange how peaceful detachment felt. They thought they had broken me that night at the dinner table. Truth is, they'd set me free. One afternoon, I found Rachel in the driveway sitting inside her car with the engine off, staring at a letter from the finance company. Another missed payment. Another warning. The fear in her eyes wasn't about losing the car. It was about realizing she didn't know how to live without the invisible hands she'd grown used to leaning on. She approached me later that night, her voice barely steady. Can you help me just this month? I'll catch up next month. I swear. I was sitting on the edge of the guest bed folding the last of my clothes. No, I said. I've been carrying all of you for 4 years. My back's done. You're their stepdad, she said, desperate. You're supposed to. I cut her off. I'm supposed to what? Absorb the damage? Pay the debts? Hold the roof up while they spit on me and you watch? No. I'm supposed to leave when I realize no one here sees me as anything but a resource. She flinched at that. Not because she disagreed, but because it was true. The next day, Madison came home early. She sat on the bottom step of the stairs, clutching her backpack to her chest like a shield. I didn't get to go, she whispered. I didn't ask. Didn't pretend to misunderstand. They said they emailed you, she continued. They said the payment bounced. Everyone else went. Even Jenna. She posted pictures. She waited for me to break, to soften, to tell her it wasn't her fault. But what she said at the dinner table echoed too clearly. You're not even blood. Stop acting like you run the place. So all I gave her was silence. That night, I opened my laptop and finalized the last thing tying me to that house. The lease for the condo across town. 2 bedrooms, quiet, clean walls, cold air, and no history. No expectation. A blank start. I signed my name, closed the lid, stood. Then I packed. Not loudly, not dramatically, just completely. Clothes, tools, personal files. A few photographs that actually meant something. Everything else, the furniture, the appliances, the decor, was theirs now. Or rather, the wreckage of what they thought they were owed. I left the wedding photo on the nightstand. Rachel could decide what to do with it. Early Saturday morning, I loaded my truck. Nobody heard. Nobody noticed. Not until I grabbed my boots from the hallway. Rachel appeared in the kitchen wearing sweatpants and fatigue in her eyes. "Where are you going?" I didn't look up from tying the laces. "Out. With all your stuff?" "Yeah." Her voice cracked. "Brian, please don't do this. We can fix it." The kids, they didn't mean what they said. "They meant it," I said calmly. "And so did you. When you didn't defend me. When you sat there pretending silence wasn't a choice." She stepped closer. Her hands trembled. "You're leaving us." "No," I said, standing. "I left a month ago. This is me taking the rest of me with me." She didn't chase me outside. Didn't scream. Didn't beg. She just stood there in the doorway, realizing the collapse wasn't coming. It had already happened. I drove away without looking back. The condo was quiet, clean, indifferent. I set my boxes down, sat on the living room floor, and breathed in the emptiness like a man tasting water after years of thirst. A week passed before Rachel reached out. One text, "I'm sorry. I didn't realize how much you were doing. I wish I had understood sooner." Then a second, "It's hard here. The kids don't know how to function. The AC is still broken. Tyler's grades dropped. Madison cried for 2 hours yesterday. I don't know how to fix any of this." Then silence. The next day, a voicemail from Madison. She was crying so hard she could barely speak. "I'm sorry," she said. "Please come home. Please. We didn't mean it. Everything's falling apart." I listened to it twice, not out of cruelty, but because for the first time I could hear the truth. The raw, unfiltered truth. They didn't want me back. They wanted the system back. The structure. The safety net. The man who made everything easier. But Tyler, he said nothing. Not a text. Not a voicemail. But I saw him once biking to school. Sweat pouring down his face. Shirt soaked. Backpack bouncing. The car I bought gone. The gas card gone. His pride too heavy for an apology. They had finally learned the lesson life had been trying to teach them. I wasn't unnecessary. I was the spine of their world. And when a spine walks away, the body collapses. I sat on the balcony of my condo that night, watching the sun burn out behind the mountains. The sky turned red, then purple, then dark. I thought about everything I had built for them. Everything they mistook for air, invisible until it disappeared. And I wondered if any of them truly saw me now. Not the provider. Not the repairman. Not the wallet. Not the substitute. But the man who stayed. The man who gave. The man who finally left. So I ask you, anyone who hears this confession, was I wrong to walk away? To let the consequences bloom exactly where the disrespect was planted? Or was this the only way left to show them what a backbone looks like when it stops carrying what was never grateful to begin with?